So I'm writing my book. It has been a process, you guys. I'm on chapter 5. And I haven't announced it or anything like that because I've been going at my own pace. As a self-published author, I don't really have deadlines or anything like that. I have my own deadlines that I'm kind of sticking to, but in terms of word count, and as hectic as my life is, I don't get many like breaks from the baby. I can't like just say, hey, take the baby and I can write for like 5 hours straight. That doesn't happen. So I've been going at my own pace. So it's I mean, sometime next year, I'm hoping, but I thought I would share this with you because I'm on the chapter about beliefs, and it's going to be about magic, and it's mostly about magic, not witchcraft per se, but magic as I see it. So, I mean, you'll know when I explain and announce it more, but I thought I would read this line to you because I feel like this is good shit, you know, like I'm reading it back to myself. Not that I don't really do that. I don't really like, I just like type going off of my outlines that I have. And then I just kind of, I don't really go back until the chapter's done and do any of the editing things. And I work chapter by chapter. So like all the other 4 chapters that I finished are in other folders in files by themselves. So I work chapter by chapter. And so far, this chapter is like over 5,000 words. So that's a pretty good chapter, you know. And I'm kind of, I feel like I'm almost done with this. If the outline is anything to go on, and it may not. I might want to add some bull crap in there. But I thought that this was, I thought I'd share this with you, okay? Because this comes straight out of my book, all right? My eventual book. Divine order and chaos of the universe is predicated on its ability to flow or coagulate. That sounds really good. The line before it is like my favorite line in this entire chapter, and it says, existential dread can be counteracted with existential courage. I don't know. See if y'all can make any sense out of that with beliefs. Like, they're basically like, these are like essays for me. So, like, kind of contemplating what belief and what knowing is. So that's going to be a chapter all on its own in terms of magic. Like, I'm doing this through a magic lens, and how I explain it to myself to continue to believe it, and how it's like a vicious cycle of believing and knowing and intrinsic knowing, and then it's like the belief cycle. You can look that up, but I use a specific formula when, if someone were to come at me and say, hey, magic doesn't exist, I'd be like, I got a formula. You ain't telling me nothing I don't already know, but you're not going to convince me either. And it's going to be kind of weird. It's going to be kind of out there, but I'm excited. I'm excited to at least get my thoughts out. So I'll be writing in, I'll actually have some time tonight probably after baby goes to sleep. Because the last couple of nights I've been up to my neck in my TBR, and I don't know what to do about all that. So anyway, I'll let you go. Okay, let me get back to this. Okay, so I wanted to take you through my TBR. I think it's only 2 books. Okay. Currently, I'm reading the Red Book. I don't know. I don't know if I can get through it in the time that I have allotted myself. I've given myself this book for August, the next book for September, and then October I have a devil study that I want to conduct in the spooky season to get me a little bit more into the vibes. Okay, so the devil study will happen in October. And then I'm also, during October, I'm reading, I've yet to read Shirley Jackson's We Still Live in the Castle. So I'm going to read that. And then I want to reread Mysteries of Udolpho by Anne Radcliffe, because, you know, I love me some Gothic literature in the spooky seasons, October, November. And then December is wrapping up the year and making plans for next year's TBR. And I already have some interesting reads, some books that I've already bought that I haven't gotten to yet. And that's kind of how I map out my TBR. I kind of map it out like, okay, I can do, like, this is over 600 pages. So I can pretty much probably, if it were normally, like if it were a fiction 600 page book, I could finish it in a month, at my pace. But I can finish a 300 page fiction. I meant nonfiction when I said that, but I can read a 300 page fiction book in 2 days. So I don't really know what's going on with this. I just know that I don't know if I'll be able to get this done in August. Plus, not to mention that for the rest of the year, I'm still doing my monthly lives, explaining my thought, expressing my thoughts of Women Who Run with the Wolves chapter by chapter. So I tend to do like at the half month mark, like around the 15th, because of how busy my schedule is in terms of everything else besides that book. I typically wait until about the 15th, read it with no taking notes, just kind of read it, the chapter, cover to cover chapter, and then read it again a few days later. After that's digested, read it a few days later, then take notes. Then I put the book up for a few more days, and then I get my notes, and then I try to block out bullet points and my thoughts on those bullet points, and then try to map that out into a kind of a relative script to follow in my live streams. So that takes it takes about a week to formulate a good response for each chapter. I feel like I've been doing a pretty good job. Like I've been able to keep up with it in that pace. So but I'm still doing that. So I'm still reading that, but that's like, I'm reading it like this, like spread out, which is good, because I feel like that is a pace that I can keep up with, and everyone else could potentially keep up with. So, so yeah, so I've got that. I just don't know about this. Like, it is good. It is good. Okay. I don't even annotate. I don't annotate my books, but I've already annotated this shit because I really, really wanted to remember some things. And, I don't know. I feel like the guy who edited this did a really fantastic job. You can really tell that he's educated himself in Jungian analysis, but also Jungian, what do you call it? Loquaciousness? the verbal usage of how he speaks, and then trying to map out what he means by that. I think that he did a good job. So I even left the back, because this is like one of these beautiful, weird, like, it feels like a Bible, which I freaking love. Okay, I fucking love that, because I can open it up and like be reading it out when I'm out somewhere, and it looks like I'm reading the Bible. Fucking not. Oh my god. I just popped to the middle of this, and okay, this chapter is called The Castle and the Forest. Yes. What? Oh, I can't wait. Okay, I can't wait to get to that. And it comes with this beautiful ribbon tie. I'm not even halfway done with it. And technically right now, as I'm filming this, we're not halfway done with August, but it's so dense because it's like one of those books that I want to read every sentence 3 times just to make sure I've gotten it. And then I read the paragraph, and then I'm like, what did I just read? And then I go back and read that shit again. And it just takes forever, you know? It reminds me a lot of reading Aqua Viva by Clarice Lispector. It's one of my favorite books of all time that's in the form of stream of consciousness. That book was 88 pages. And it took me a few weeks to read it, okay? This is over 600 pages of that shit. And so, I don't know. I don't know if I'll be able to get through it by the end of August. Then the second book, my September book, and I have my husband's birthday and my firstborn's birthday in September, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to get to this as much as I want to too, but I'm going to try my damnedest. And so for the month of September, I really do hope to devote myself to this book, and that is Sexual Personae by Camille Paglia. Oh. I don't know why I haven't gotten to this. But I know, I feel like this was it's gonna be one of those works that will be like mind-blowing to me. I mean, Camille Paglia is, I feel like she's a revolutionary, you know? And she has a lot of ideals that I don't know. I don't know how I'm gonna take this, but I want to devote myself to it so bad. And I mean, just the back, it grips you. It says, "Is Emily Dickinson the female Sada?" Talking about the Marquis de Sada. And just thinking about that one line is making my wheels turn. Is Donatello's David a bit of? What is the secret kinship between Byron and Elvis Presley? Between Medusa and the Madonna? How do liberals and feminists, as well as conservatives, fatally misread human nature? This audacious and omnivorously learned work of guerrilla scholarship offers nothing less than a unified field theory of Western culture, high and low, since the Egyptians invented beauty, making a persuasive case for all art as a pagan battleground between male and female, form and chaos, civilization and demonic nature. This is going to be good, okay? And I do want to devote myself to it. But I have a feeling it's going to be very academic and just maybe even possibly just as dense as the Red Book. So that's why I've only got these two books so far on my TBR for these 2 months. Spread myself out and try to get it all done and conceptualized in my brain. So, and let me know, I might end up reading this as a vlog style, like a reading vlog where I'm going, like I explain it chapter by chapter, but then add all the chapters up into like one big video so that y'all know my thoughts on the chapters. I don't know if I'll do that. But I don't know. I could make videos about the notes that I make, if that's going to be a thing. I don't know. So yeah, I mean, I'll probably talk more on the channel about my thoughts on the Red Book, my thoughts on Sexual Personae, and be sure to be on the lookout for possibly a couple of videos in my Devil Study coming up in October, okay? For witchy season. Okay, so I'm sitting at my PC and I just uploaded this to KDP on Amazon, all right? Oracular Synthesis. This is book 2 in my Oracle book series for the whole series will be out and available for purchase by the end of this year. So this is book 2. Over 100 images again, just like the first book. It's 100 images. I'm super excited to have this out. I did a live on the channel actually with some sneak peeks with the few people, you know, that came and participated in the live. We kind of did like this game to where I would, you know, bibliomancy it using the letters of the alphabet and give some sneak peeks. And what I realized with that is that this is more, the images in this are more dangerous, are more morbid, are more dreadful. Which, to be honest, I didn't notice, okay? I didn't notice that until recently, that a lot of these can be construed, you know, to be having basis in the negative emotions. And it kind of goes with the theme of this entire series. There's 3 books, and the first book had a white cover. Synthesis Oracle had a white cover, and they were very much coming from, I will say, a lot of those came from my inner child and my childhood years. Those visions and quests that allowed me to have some sort of existential openness came from that kind of era in me. And for this one to have existential dread and some sort of like, it's almost dangerous. Some of these are a lot, they're a little dangerous. And I'm not saying that that's a good or a bad thing. I'm just, like, I know in the live I shared, I think the card is called New World Order. And it's just like this chandelier of puppets or poppets. And I thought about totalitarianism, and when drawing that card, I had contemplated, the Communist Manifesto and totalitarianism, and read that shit if you want some dread, And this basically the dichotomy of a communist society, and totalitarianism is about this versus this, and how that's not even if Marx wanted to convey that, it doesn't work. Like, he debunked himself. So when I came up with that card, I thought, it's probably a manifestation of me thinking about totalitarianism. So that's the kind of, that's an example, right? But I actually wanted to share for this vlog, okay, because I'm kind of doing this over a couple of days span, this vlog. But I wanted to share that this is officially out on Amazon now. You can go purchase it. But there were a couple of images. No, not images. I'm sorry. There were a couple of card names that didn't make the book. And as number 3 is already done as well, these I was going to put in this book, but they didn't make the cut. And I kind of wanted to share them with you to see if you could make something out of them, because some of them are confusing, were too confusing in a way that I couldn't actually draw images for them. And they left me with that same feeling of like, okay, this is dangerous and I don't know what to do with this shit. So let's get, I wrote them on index cards because I had them in my synthesis journals for a long time, and I kept skipping them, like with some I would have the images first because they were visions, and my visions tend to come in a symbolic imagery language, and some of them had images first, but then some of them I had like these juxtaposed word plays, and then I would generate an image. So these are the ones that were just titles that I really wanted to use somehow, but then I didn't, and then I kept skipping over them or crossing them out and coming back to them, and I just left them out. It's like, no. So the first one is concealed failure. What the hell does that mean? I know what failure is, and I know what it means to conceal something. So am I faking it to make it? Am I faking failure? And then why would you do that? Would you conceal the fact that you failed in doing something? And could this be some sort of Edison philosophy where, I found out 2,000 ways how not to make a light bulb, but if I wanted to go that route, I could have done the light bulb, like maybe a broken light bulb or something. I don't know. It just, whenever I would see this, I was like, I can't do nothing with this. So, all right, the next one is, and y'all let me know how y'all feel about these, okay? Maybe. The next one is cloister idols. This is also a juxtaposition because cloisters are these beautiful walkways, usually in cathedrals or big cathedrals. They're walkways that are surrounding like an outdoor courtyard, and so cloister to me has a church. It's like it's not always, okay? It's an architectural word, but it does have a religious association with it. And idol is something in a lot of religions that is looked down upon. Like, it is wrong. Idolatry is wrong, right? In a lot of the religious texts. So I juxtapose these. Like, there's an idol sitting or standing like a statue, right? I'm thinking like a gold statue that is maybe in the corner of one of these cathedral cloisters, and the nuns or the monks pass them by, and it's like, how would they feel about that? Even though, don't get me started on idolatry, because to me the crucifix is a fucking idol. So you're veering into a place that you don't want me to go. All right. So anyway, that was the next one. Okay. Hostile threads. I think that this was going to be hostile threats, but that was just too on the nose. And for a lot of these oracular titles, I didn't want them to be on the nose. I wanted them to be like a pimple. So, actually, I have one. I have a pimple. There you go. Just like that. It's like mole, 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 mole. So, that's what I wanted these to be. So, I think I maybe changed it to hostile threads. And then I was like, okay, hostile threads. And then I'm thinking of a ball of yarn that has teeth buried in it, and a cat's playing with it, and then all of a sudden it gets his arm chewed off. Like, I don't know. I was going down all kinds of weird, morbid rabbit holes. Like Alice in Wonderland, but horror. The bunny got his leg chewed off or something. I don't know. It's like how could you have hostile threads? And then I got to thinking, well, we could do something along the lines, kind of like this, like shibori, or it's kind of intricate knot work that seems to abrase the skin. But then I already had an abrasive card in the deck that's named abrasive, so I was like, okay. Anarchy's Enigma. Now, I guess you could I could also call this anarchic enigma, but anarchy's enigma sounded better, I guess, to me in my head. Again, with the philosophers that seem to have this take, this is what you get when you research too much. And you're sitting there at night in the bed looking up this, and then it leads you to here, and it leads you to there. And then you go to sleep asking your dreams to please not portray anything that you've just read. What is this? What is this? Anarchy's Enigma. Okay. Evil delicacies. I see a lot of these have this kind of a dangerous feel, right? Not all of them are like that, but I need it to be portrayed, and that's why it's actually turned out good, is that there is negative in the world. There is suffering in the world. And when we open our eyes to it, we are a little bit more enlightened about the world. So, evil delicacies. And then see, I have a still life that I had painted a long time ago that I called Still Death. And it had skulls and rotten fruit and burned out candles. Things that were it was like stop motion, but it wasn't anything that was alive. So I called it Still Death. And that's kind of what I think about. Rotting fruit, like a trough of rotting fruit. And it's permeating this kind of heady orchard smell. Like, the smell in the orchard when you've got like a whole bunch of rotten apples on the ground, and it's like that kind of smell. But it's a little bit more rotten than that, like just before it turns back into dirt. That smell. So it's like there's a fertility in there. There's a fertility in that decay. And again, I'd already had, I think that my decay, made it in here. Yeah, here we go. Decay is poison. So that made that in here. So maybe I changed evil delicacies to decay is poison. Decay is sacred. Its poison is needed for regeneration. Gasp at the fumes releasing from the glass skull decanter. Release your gaseous breath breathed from lives lost. Pour out your decaying natural structure, bled from the soul's unknown purpose. Okay. Tenement intimacy. I liked this one because it made me think, reading this just makes me think of that song Sound of Silence. You know, tenement halls. And you know, you think graffiti and you think concrete jungles and you think, well, for me, and you think trash, urban trash, and I guess urban decay in a way, you know, and in a large way, Earth has just started to take back her own in a lot of these places. But you see that in book 1 with Witch's Confessional. So maybe it's just all a cycle, and it's all in the psyche, and it's like nothing new. Cynicism's apparatus. What the hell? Okay, like you think apparatus, you think tool. You know, I think of the math tool. But an apparatus is like the system of, I'm thinking a system of pulleys and, like, I don't know, weird structures that are made from labor. Like there has to be labor involved, right? So like a pulley system, you can have it to where it's crunk, but in my head, a cynic's apparatus, they would almost have to martyr themselves to feel like they're getting anywhere. You know, like if they're not doing the work, they feel useless in a way. Like there's like almost like if they're cranking the crank and they're not exerting any kind of energy, then they feel like it's futile. So they're doing there and they're pulling the rope like this to make that thing slowly go across the conveyor belt or some shit. Like that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking cynics have this very martyrdom about them. But this doesn't say cynic, it says cynicisms. So cynicism itself may have an apparatus. What would be that apparatus? Oh. And then the last one was Cain's bravado. Now I know I didn't put this one in here, okay? Now, y'all know, if y'all been following the channel for any length of time, that I have a high love for Adam and Eve and the creation story, okay? Not in a Christian way, but in my own way, okay? And I made it a point not to put any pronouns in these books. I don't want people in my books, because these are supposed to be oracular. They're supposed to be divinatory and a little too abstract to pin down to one person or one thing or one group. Hell, even one group of people. It's expanded out from that. So this wasn't going to work because it had a name, okay? And everyone in goddamn the world knows who Cain is. And so I thought to myself, okay, I can ruminate on this and not put it in the book. I have a love for Cain and Abel in that story as well, as a subset of the creation story. But because you really have to know psychologically what's going on with both brothers. And as someone who for the longest time had only two boys that were seemingly like this night and day, you know, and then they would change, and one of them would be Cain and the other one would be Abel, and you couldn't hardly keep up with the shit as they grew up in their developmental and fundamental years. As a mom, I was just confused as shit, because you never knew from one day to the next. And they're so close in age. They're like 18 months apart. So they are very much like twins in that regard, where they literally grew up together. There were only 18 months apart. So during the consciousness years, it was always them two together. So there was always this fight because they have two different personalities. So That's why I like Medea's story, because the same thing happened with her, I think, in some of the stories that you hear from her about her. But Cain, there's something about Cain for me, because, like I said, as a mom, there's so much that we blame ourselves for in terms of our children's personalities, and a lot of the time it has nothing to do with us. It has something to do with the way that their personality is and will develop. And if they do something that is seemingly out of your control, and even maybe even possibly out of theirs, you take the fault, take the blame, and then you think, how could I have done this differently? You know, what did I do wrong? You start to kind of internally blame yourself. Not that that's always necessary. So Cain, I have a special look. Almost like I wish I was there, you know, to talk to him, because somebody needed to talk to that boy. And the Bible made it out to be like, you know, he needed God's help, but no, he needed a fucking mama. Okay. And that's why that's why I like him, you know, because I'm like, I'll be your mama. Okay, I will sit your ass down and talk to you. You ask me some questions. Go ahead, ask me. You know, I don't know. Here I am trying to be Cain's mama. He had a damn mama. I don't know. It's like this village thing, you know. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. The rest of you mamas out there, tell me if you have these feelings. Oh, I don't know. And it's only with Cain, okay? It's not with anybody else's kids. It's just this, because of this story, okay? I do this a lot with myth, you know, like if I could impose myself into the myth, like crawl into the myth, slither into the myth, psychologically, how would that play out? How could I play that out? So, okay, anyway, I'm rambling. Out now on Amazon. Book 2, so excited, right? Go check it out. Link will be below.